Internet, this is Mommy's very special work trip. My name is Matthew Kroll.
And somewhere out there, there's a young girl dreaming of one day becoming a criminal. My name is Shahir Dowd.
And this is the only podcast about movies, specifically the film Ocean's 8.
7?
No, it's 12? Carrie the 4.
2.
I don't know. Well, speaking of Carrie, do you see what I did? It's really great, and no one quite knows yet why. We have amazing guests for this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners, it is my most absolute pleasure to welcome co-hosts of our sister podcast, Speaking of Carrie, which is a fantastic Sex in the City podcast. You have to absolutely listen to it. The only two people that I would ever trust to pull off a heist via bus tour. Elyse, Brandau, and Melissa Stokoski. What is up?
Wow,
I just want to clap for that intro. Wow.
I was delighted.
I don't have words now. I can't speak. Sorry, can't do this. Too excited.
Welcome.
Thank you. The best title drop of our podcast we've ever had. Better than we do on a regular basis.
We can't get it right. You sound much better
nailed
saying
it.
Thank you very much. It is lovely to have you both. So for those of you who don't know, I help produce the Speaking of Carrie podcast, the only podcast that is fully about Miranda. Is that how it?
The one where we mostly talk about Miranda.
Talk about Miranda.
Yeah.
And it is gangbusters. Is super fun. We actually just recorded 2 episodes today.
Feeling alive.
Wow.
You guys are in it right now.
We are in it.
Ready.
Oh, and Shahir, I do have to warn you. So for their
And
podcast,
you guys in sync as well right now. Like
Maybe.
Basically
Very
being in
much
a
so.
room for 3 hours together.
But our hands are extended. Please join this flow.
I feel
Get
like
in
I'm
here.
going to be the outsider. I'm going to stay on the outside of the circle.
I don't think so. We're
By
gonna
the
pull you
end
in.
of this,
Nope.
he's
You're in
going
the
to
center
be.
of the
We're going to
dance
find out
circle.
whether he's a Samantha or a Carrie.
I'm a Cynthia, I think I'm a...
No, Cynthia Nixon.
You're running for
Nixon.
governor?
I'm
You're
running for governor.
governor. Okay,
That's what I'm
great.
doing.
I love your
Yeah.
platform on children and education.
There you go.
On heist.
But I will say, Shahir, I am a quiet partner in this endeavor of Speaking of Carrie. I man the boards and I help out with some little things on the side. The ladies are full and
We
on.
look to you.
Yeah,
We look to you a lot.
but I have to be quiet during that show.
Oh, my
So I've
goodness.
been sitting in a room podcasting, saying nothing. So I am terribly.
I see now where you got the
terribly
time
sorry.
to come up with the Speaking of
He's
Carrie
ready.
line. It's like,
There we go.
You were thinking about this. You were
Ad
working on
hoc.
it. Yeah. Wait, what are our like? This is the four. We are the quadruplets of Sex in the City right now. Like, can we take roles? Can we
Are you
can
going to
we
assign
kind
them?
of- yeah, can we assign who we are?
Of course.
I've seen a couple of episodes of Sex in the City, but I'm not like super familiar. But listening to your podcast, I've gotten excited about it. I kind of want to watch them, and I want to watch the movie. Yeah, I do listen. Of course, I do. And I want to see the movies, and I would love us to do like another crossover episode. This is the crossover episode of the century, obviously, but a crossover where we do talk about the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what got you guys into Sex in the City in general?
Oh my God.
Well, it is our profession.
It is your profession.
So that was part
have
of
Sex
it.
in the City?
my
No.
rent.
Yeah. We met when Elyse trained me to be a Sex and the City bus tour guide.
there you go.
I mean, we were both into the show before then, but that's really solidified.
And we both did comedy, and I got on location tour job because I did comedy, and other fellow comedians were like, hey, they're hiring. And it was like more of a broad TV film tour that was like from the 1980s to present day.
Yeah.
And so I was doing that for a while, and then like a Sex and the City guy dropped, and someone was like, hey, do you want to fill in? And I was like, does it bear shit in the woods? Sure. Because like I am a fan.
Yeah.
But I have appreciated so much more and renewed appreciation while doing this tour and podcast and seeing fans and seeing people and their response to it and going back and revisiting it. So it's kind of grown, but I was just a fan, a good fan, but now it's become like, wow.
Has it changed? Like, has like the Sex in the City fandom, has that since the show ended, since the second movie came out, has like, do people respond to it differently now? Is it more kitsch or is it more revered? Do people like more into it?
I feel like it's a little kitsch, like because now it's so much a timestamp of when it was filmed,
20 years
that
ago.
I think it's even more fun to look back at now. Like the further along, it becomes in the past. I think it's fun to look back at.
That some things still resonate. Some things are
A lot of it is
evergreen.
evergreen,
right.
but there's specific.
A lot that didn't hold up.
Like, for instance, how hard are you supposed to tug balls?
Oh,
That is
good
Yeah.
question.
That was an episode.
We
that has
never got any
changed over
emails
the
on that, and I
years.
was kind of sad.
Well,
I really wanted some info on that.
You can email us at onlymoviepodcast@gmail.com.
Please, please.
Ask Matt to tug your balls.
Yeah. And just let me know the exact torque strength that I'm only going to measure it in that amount
And he'll
of
be there.
effort. Yeah, no, I'm there,
It will
100%.
exceed all expectations.
Also, other than being Sex and the City tour guides, you both are fantastic in your other parts of your career as well. Elyse, you're an actress.
Yes.
You've listeners, you've probably seen Elyse around in a various commercial or short film or two. Melissa, wonderful stand-up. I actually just caught when I was looking up how to spell your name for my notes. I fell into a rabbit hole of your stand-up on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
And now I know all about how to not fall in love with my therapist.
Oh yeah, that's an oldie but a goodie.
It was fun.
I
dug
think
the
that
shit out
is
of
my
it.
most viewed YouTube video is about me talking about. I had this like male therapist, and he was hot, and like it was kind of weird. Like I get my money's worth. Don't get me wrong. I was crying. I was really delving into stuff, but I was also noticing a thick sexual tension that lied between us. So
Oh, wait, it went both ways.
I believe so.
Let's go with yes.
Yes.
Oh, please.
I mean, very much so. There was a time where I was like, I think we might fuck.
Yeah.
And like when he like raised his rates, and I was like, I can't continue this craziness that's been going on for a higher price. I was like, I need like a real therapist. And the last email I sent to him, kind of like breaking up with him, I was like, I truly hope I see you.
Oh.
And he was like, thank you so much. Like extremely professional email back, like paper trail. And yeah, but you know, we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted.
That's what Snapchat's for. Shahir,
Yes.
we have a review on the iTunes machine.
Yes, we do. So I want to thank Jenny Bus for reviewing us on iTunes with a very lovely review saying, thoughtful film analysis. This podcast has been one of my favorites for some time. The interplay between Matt and Shahir is engaging and allows for detailed discussion about movies. 50-50 on that one. They cover movies.
Agree to disagree.
But we like the lie.
They cover movies ranging from the most popular Marvel film out at the moment to smaller films I've never heard of. If you want to be challenged and also entertained by film analysis, I highly recommend checking out the only podcast about movies.
Thank you, Jenny Bus.
I
She's
believe,
amazing.
Yeah, no.
God, that
was
lovely,
really nice.
thoughtful.
Yeah.
I believe she's also been emailing
But
us
true.
about violence in cinema, which is
Yes.
a topic we are planning on covering at some date. And she's actually given us some really thoughtful questions, which I think will actually structure our discussion.
She wrote us this lovely like outline of the questions she would like discussed on our violence in media and cinema in general podcast, and like you did like our homework.
Pretty much, yeah.
You did our outline for us, and we really appreciate that. That's amazing.
I like what you
So
did.
kind.
Yeah. Deadpool, though. I felt like you guys were touching on that a little bit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
getting
we-
into it. And I
that's-
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how this whole started. But now we're going to do one of our sort of special. We've done race and representation before, where we had the wonderful Damian Lemon and Carolina Ravassa on for that. We've done a couple other sort of like side things like that, which is super fun. Check out the back catalog. But we're not talking about any of that today.
No.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Fuck all the other things.
We just have 8. Just 8 things.
Just
to talk
8
about.
things to talk about.
Us times 2.
Yeah.
So
Let's bring math into this.
Is Shahir Charlotte?
am I? You actually see, I don't know.
Shahir is a.
I don't know Six in the City characters.
Oh,
so what am I?
oh man.
Fill
I mean,
me
I'm
in.
getting a Charlotte vibe.
Which one's
You're
Charlotte?
traditional. You have a child,
Is Charlotte Cynthia Nixon?
No.
that's Kristen
but
Davis.
she also has a child. I could
Okay.
see you also as a Miranda.
Okay.
I see. At first, I thought Miranda. I think it's a Charlotte. I
Yeah.
think knowing
Which one is
Shahir
the
as well as
Charlotte?
Yeah, he's a Charlotte.
I don't know how
Kristen
to.
Davis, she's very
wholesome.
She has standards. She's kind of the social norm that all the other characters are
Oh.
like
Yeah, I could buy that.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
seems like
But then
maybe-
she does get wild, and
Oh,
she's the only
shit.
one who.
In her own ways, in her own environment.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Are you guys
Correct.
are you guys reading my future here?
And
Is that-
I've seen Shahir get wild in his own
Holding his
environment
palm right
before.
now. I see it in his palm.
Yeah. we've been to Europe together.
That's true. We have.
Ooh.
We have done a
Oh,
European
what happens in Europe
vacation.
I've been in
Yeah.
New Zealand. You're fucking nuts.
Yeah. Back in the day. Back in the
Wild boy.
Fun fact: I know this is old hat for people who listen to the podcast, but Shahir was this close to becoming the Black Power Ranger back in the
day. For
day.
a little while, yes.
Shut the fuck up.
That
I would
was-
introduce myself as that
As the
every
Black
time.
Power Ranger, yeah.
Yeah.
Or almost the Black Power Ranger.
Almost is
Hi,
better.
Shahir.
What was
Almost.
the process? What stopped?
I'm
Just
not
casted
a
someone
good
else?
actor. I'm saying that.
Are they? So
I mean, I got through 3 auditions before that became
That's
a factor.
incredible.
big
But,
deal.
But yeah, not a good actor.
What was the process
You couldn't
like?
just yell Mastodon and like hold out a thing.
See,
in
I
front
don't
of
know.
it?
That was the thing as well. I don't know anything about Power Rangers. I remember going through the auditions, but also I think I would venture to guess because they were filming it in New Zealand and they were just looking for brown
I
people.
didn't know.
I didn't know
that it was
Yeah.
filmed in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Well-
so
I
Whatever.
believe you could have stolen that part.
just to be clear, I was a mile away from that part. And I've never wanted to be an actor. I would just kind of was for a little while because, I can do
Is that
lines.
what Chris Hemsworth says?
Those
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
those are the
He's
people
not
who
New
get
Zealand. He's not New
successful.
Zealand.
Yeah.
Jermaine,
it's
does
pretty
Jermaine
much
say
yeah.
that?
Does everyone from New Zealand and Australia just be like, I mean, I'm tall and good enough looking where this will just sort of work. So
Pretty much,
whatever.
I saw myself
That
as
and, like,
doing.
Flight of the
I wanted to be
Yeah,
Chris
yeah, yeah.
Hemsworth, but I chose other things.
Fair.
Yeah, like
Fair.
not doing that. Yeah. So moving along,
sorry.
I want to talk a little bit about the Ocean's movies and our relationships to the Ocean's movies because this was an interesting one for me. I did not watch a trailer for this movie. Did not know anything about this movie going in. I knew it was coming out. I knew there was going to be an all-female cast about it. And I am kind of a fan. I would kind of equate it to maybe how you are to other franchises, like the X-Men franchise or something like that.
I
Or,
see what you're saying.
you know,
Yes.
like I enjoy the Ocean's movie, but I got to be honest with you, I didn't, I've never ever considered that I needed to see another Ocean's movie.
You thought they was done.
Here's what I enjoy them. I wouldn't, but I don't want to like put them up on a pedestal and say they're the greatest things
Sure.
ever, and that I needed more of them. You know what I mean?
Fair,
How
fair.
about you guys? How do you feel about
Ocean's
Danny
movies,
Ocean, George Clooney,
just
Brad Pitt?
oceans in general.
Yeah.
The Atlantic,
Atlantic.
the Pacific.
Nah.
Strong waves on the west.
Yeah.
They'll rip you apart. I have a great time. I like heist. I haven't watched tons of heist movies. Like watched The Sting. I watched Logan Lucky.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've watched and I enjoy him. I enjoy him a lot. And I don't remember Ocean, like the George Clooney Oceans very
wow.
well because it's been forever.
Yeah.
It's forever ago. And so then I watched this one and I want to like have a little like let everyone know that I didn't watch Ocean's 8 to talk about it like I am right now. This was like something that I was able to jump in on this podcast and be able to do. But so I'm coming from it from like just purely enjoyment kind of place. Was it perfect? No. Were there like lulls? Yes. But like I enjoyed it. Did it need to happen? That's a whole other conversation, I guess, that we can get into. I think a female heist movie needed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You could call it anything. You could call it Oceans.
Sure.
You could call it I need to get out of debt. I'm really good at this one thing and I see a way of getting it. Here's my friend. Let's work together and get it. It doesn't matter what
But
it was
I
called.
think putting it as part of this major franchise was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that gave it more leverage than it would have just as
Yes.
a standalone.
I agree.
This is not a positive thing about myself. And I do this all the time to lots of especially series. But I think the way I've felt about the Ocean's movies is like, I get the gist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it.
Yeah.
You're robbing stuff. You're mostly hot dudes.
Yeah.
This is casinos and shit. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, I know I saw one of them, which was the one that Julia Roberts was in.
Is that
She's in
12
all
or
three.
13? Oh, is she all three?
Oh, she's not in the third.
Okay.
yeah.
The one where they were like, she does look like her. No,
That's
she doesn't
Ocean's
look
12,
Yeah.
yeah.
I liked that. I
Yeah.
thought that was cute, but I don't remember anything else about them.
Yeah.
So that's where I was coming from. I also vaped before I saw it in a THC way and saw it at 1 in the
yes.
afternoon alone.
Well, there's
So
Cool. What a great time.
I mean, I go to movies alone a lot, and I feel like that's kind of like the way I get the most accurate perception of it is like a little bit high and alone. So I'll
can
delve
focus.
in. I was focused. I was taking some little notes on my phone, and yeah, I did enjoy it. It was a fun, flawed.
There you go.
I also little precursor. Is that the word I would
Well,
use?
we're also women.
We're also
we have to
women.
support the shit out of this. Not we have to, but like we're not at a point in movies where we can just like shit talk female movies because there's not enough.
There's not
of them
enough.
yet.
We got to be careful.
Yeah.
It did
We're
make
only
me
going to get so many.
in a Wonder Woman type of way where I'm just excited to see women like together executing shit, and I'm like, yes, like
At the end of the day, that is like, if we're going to have final thoughts, I'm going to have them right now before anything has happened.
yeah, let's put that out there first.
Yeah.
But like, I can relate to the Ocean's 11 and Ocean's 12 and Ocean's 13. I can relate to Indiana Jones. I can relate to whatever. And The Man. I was like, and I lived through that and I love it. And I love those movies. But it was nice, like Wonder Woman, to see women doing the stuff that I related to men doing, but now they're doing it. There was a special extra boost to
And
be
the
like,
amount of confidence that every single one of these characters had was very cool to see. Like, that's always positive.
and it's not about men. They weren't doing something. I mean, one was like a heist within a heist. And of course, out of 8 women,
Revenge.
sure. But of course, out of like 12 men, sure. There was some female, whatever. So sure. But like, it was just nice to have a movie. It didn't reinvent the wheel. It didn't, there was maybe a lull here or there, but I had fun. The music I enjoyed. The editing, was it the same
The casting. I mean, there was, it was star-studded.
I started, but I also came into this going to Hawaii the next day and in the middle of it having to leave because I booked a Subway radio
Wait,
commercial.
hold on. Hold on.
this was
Wait.
interrupted.
Let's back up the train a second. here.
Sorry, I went to town. Sorry.
No. But do you mean you only watched half the movie?
No, I had to leave. Like, I was getting, my phone was blowing up and they're like, leave now. We have to call you. So I ran out to where I could get reception. I think it was the part where Sarah, what's Sarah's last name from all the,
Sarah Paulson.
Sarah Paulson is getting like, you know, you should do this job. Like, and like taking, like, mommy's got to work.
Early in the movie.
Yeah.
Early-ish in the movie.
So that part I missed.
I loved
then
that
I came back in.
because I had a friend who was married to a lady who he was like, something's weird is going on with her, and then all of a sudden he got the keys to like their separated like garage in the backyard, and he goes in and there was literally just like 67 lamps. And he was like, what the fuck is going on? And she had just had this like klepto problem where she just kept stealing lamps. And I thought that was kind of funny. Like, her garage is
I
just
thought she was
filled
the
with
Avon
shit.
lady. That's what I honestly thought she was the
I
Avon
thought she was
lady.
like addicted to stealing stuff.
I mean, obviously that's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm just
Guys,
saying the
I
first
missed
time I
a
saw
really good part. That sounds like a really fun part of this.
It was good.
Oh my God. Anyway, so I came back and I was just like high on life, and I was like, this movie's everything.
Well, we do talk a lot about the experience, or how and when you see a film will obviously affect how you view it. But a lot of things, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but I want to talk about it even before we got into the actual film itself, and I wanted both of your opinions, and Shahir's too, about there's a bit of a weird, obviously we've seen this before, like, backlash of the ding 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 sort of variety, in the sense that like people like are hating on certain aspects of this because it is just women. And
Have you? I haven't heard that.
well, so there's
I've
two,
definely heard it with Ghostbusters. when that came out
well,
last year.
Ghostbusters has its own issues. This though in particular, there was a thing where it's been doing fine in box office. I think it's already surpassed
Number
its
one.
budget.
Yeah.
It's been number one. I think it's like 85 or something like that at this point million. It's doing good. But on Rotten Tomatoes or something along the lines, it's something in the mid 70s as far as a critic's score and an audience score of around 50. Now,
What?
I don't put a lot of
Fascinating.
clout in this, but there was an interesting sort of conversation had by some of the cast members of this movie that were sort of like blaming critics for its middling reviews, which I found weird because the critics in this case were actually on their side more, I feel, than the
There's
audience.
a little bit more context to the.
Well,
to that.
I was going to get to that. The other thing, sorry, was that the thing they had a problem with, and the reason they were saying it wasn't reviewing so well was because 80-ish percent, 85-ish percent are white older men that are reviewers.
Critics are
Yes.
extremely sexist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so
100%.
That would be my point.
A study came out around the same time as Ocean's 12 was released by the USC Annenberg School for Communications and Journalism that said that noted among around 19,000 reviews, only 20% were evaluated and written by women, and nearly 78% surveyed came from men. That came out to a ratio of 3.5 male critics to every female reviewer. And this points to, I think we've had this conversation
Yes.
around race and representation in cinema, where there's not a lot of female directors, not a lot of female authorial voices behind the camera. But what we're seeing, what this study illuminated as well, is there's not a lot of critical response in the cinema that represents an alternate voice as well. And this kind of has led into an interesting conversation because. For example, Avi DuVernay's film A Wrinkle in Time reviewed fairly poorly, and the conversation, I believe it was Mindy Kaling, but don't quote me on that, said something along the lines of, I don't need a white male to tell me what they think of A Wrinkle in Time. The movie is not necessarily made for them. Yeah. I have... So I'm sort of in an interesting position on this one, which is that I agree with the sentiment that yes, there is an underrepresentation of critical thinking around cinema, and that can lead to the way we watch films in a very different way. It can also lead to the things like, there is a popularization of, the types of films that women don't necessarily enjoy. But I also disagree with the idea that you can be of the opposite gender and not know what a good movie is. And I think because that's where I'm going to come down on this movie is I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's an okay time at the movies. It's sort of passably fun. And this will be the weirdest thing I will say about this movie.
Doubt it.
Oh boy.
And I've been thinking about this all week and trying to figure out how I can phrase this in a way that doesn't seem offensive. And I don't think it's offensive, but it might be offensive.
Here we go. Everyone, moment of silence before this happens.
But this movie feels like the kid sister of the Ocean's movies, and in the way that it's in the shadows of the Ocean's movies, and something that I don't think it needs to be. I think. There are female-driven heist movies. There are many, like we've, for example, Set It Off, Mad Money. There's a movie coming out by Steve McQueen later on this year called Widows, which are interesting movies. And I think, I think though, while I agree that there is something to this movie, like going to see it. I took my wife to see it, and she just had a great time watching it. She just enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I find it hard to recommend because I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's an okay time at the movies, but I kind of feel that way a little bit about the Ocean's film as well. But there's one difference that I want to talk about with the Ocean's films and this.
We'll get to that. That's what I was going to say. Is like, are these male-driven ones that riveting?
Yeah. No.
Are any of them different from each other? No. I feel like that is the franchise in general. And to contradict myself of what I said a little bit earlier, I do think it's important to note those differences. And I don't want to by any means give this a pass because it is all female. I do want to support it for that reason, but also we shouldn't judge it differently just because of that.
There's a way you can, it's interesting, I think, because there's a way you can support with your dollars and not just arbitrarily fawn over it in a weird way, because it's important that from a monetary standpoint that people see that these films can make money, so more of them will be made and better ones will be made.
I feel this is a stepping stone.
Sure.
It was very important it got made. Did I want an Ocean's 8? No. But was it able to show a large group of people that look, all of these women are doing this job and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's at least good. It's good for a blockbustery in a sense.
And here's where, because I guess this will sort of roll into my sort of first thoughts too, because I didn't do that yet, is I have long on this podcast said that films do not have to be these amazing, every film doesn't have to be the most amazing film or the most horrible film.
Reinvent the wheel.
This is a fun, in my opinion, popcorn flick.
Yes.
And it's funny you bring up the kid sister bit of it. I don't know if I would coin it exactly that way, but the feeling that you're trying, I don't know, I can't think of a better one right now. Yeah. But the feeling of that made, for me, the Ocean's films, it's more interesting than the last two Ocean's films. Because 12 and 13, I've seen them both. I don't remember them.
Yeah, I don't either. It's a blur. It's like one big, long 6-hour film.
Now, granted, I barely remember the heist of Ocean's 11, and I'm not saying that the heist in this one is the most riveting heist. In fact, I would say the heist in this one it's interesting because you're doing a heist movie in 2018 and you're doing it at the Met. It poses different challenges than, say, robbing a casino in 2008 or whatever it was.
And I liked that. I liked that it was females and the Met Gala, which is something that I think women do follow at this time period. And I was a little bit annoyed. Gala.
Oh, okay.
There
Which
we
they
go.
did.
Zing!
They did in there, yes. And I was a little bit annoyed at first that it was like, oh, women love diamonds. Let's make this a diamond heist. But then at the same time, I was like, that is kind of fun. Like jewelry. And I think I would react to diamonds
It's
that way. I'd be
visually
like, holy
stunning.
shit.
It's a visually beautiful place to have a heist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, setting wise, they nailed it. I mean, I think the as far as visual sort of acuity of the thing, because like a casino looks like a casino. Whatever they were sort of robbing in the other films that I don't even remember, I don't remember.
Well, and the details with the celebrity cameos at the Met Gala was fantastic because those are the people that you look for at the Met Gala. And I had this weird moment when they showed Kim Kardashian where I was just like, oh my God, they got Kim Kardashian. And I was like, wait a minute, she's very lucky to be in this movie. Like that was a ridiculous thought that I had. And one of the Hadids or whatever, like the cameos were great.
So my end point of the beginning of my thoughts is basically that I like that there is a giant sort of gambit of where films can fall as far as the either art to just dumb popcorn to like whatever. There's a whole color wheel of emotional roller coasterness that I could eventually make, but I never will because I don't have to prove myself. But I think it's nice to have films like this because I like films like this. It's not changing my life. I'm not going to think about it a ton after the fact. It's just something that I'm glad I can vote with my dollars because I'd like to see more things like it.
Yes.
It felt like hanging out with a bunch of cool as fuck people that I would like to hang out with in real life.
Yeah.
It had good dialogue. It was shot solidly. Music cues were fun. And it had Awkwafina, who I used to work with at Girl Code.
Honestly stole the show for me.
It was fucking wonderful. So like
She did a fantastic job.
I had such a it's weird. I had such a good time in the theater. And then after the fact, it was funny. I was talking with Jamie and I was like, well, I could pick this apart. And I could pick that apart. And then I was like, the more I picked at it, the more I was like, oh, well, I guess that didn't work. But that doesn't change anything how I felt actually in the theater.
I came out guns a-blazing. I was like, that was fun. I'm so glad I had fun.
Yeah.
I had to pee.
That was at the
But I
right thing?
didn't leave. I didn't leave to go pee, and that says something.
Anyway, should I read the IMDb and then we'll kind of get into
sure.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Here we go.
What? Whoa, I'm excited.
IMDb, this is the movie description that they provide, just in case we don't know what Ocean's 8 is about.
Please refresh me.
Okay. Debbie Ocean gathers an all-female crew to attempt an impossible heist at the New York City's yearly Met Gala. Yeah, that's what happened.
That's it.
That's what happened.
All it says.
That's all it says.
Accurate.
It's always one sentence, and it's always either really accurate and boring or like, what? And this
That's
one I
so
feel like
funny.
is the first one.
Nailed it.
Yep, you got it. Way to go, IMDb
I
writer.
forgot her name's Debbie.
Debbie
Not a
Ocean.
heist name.
Like Danny Ocean.
So, well, I didn't know up top. I was like, who the fuck is her brother? And why does everyone know this except me? And then I was like, oh, yeah, there's like a bunch of movies before this that I didn't remember. But then I kind of caught on. I was like, well, she either fucked George Clooney or that's her brother. And it turned out to be the
But
brother.
not both.
Not both.
Not both.
No.
And that was cool. That was a good choice.
That's going to be an Oscar film. That's
That's
an
a
Oscar
chick
nominated
right
film
there.
coming out soon next year.
Did you guys buy Sandra Bullock as this hardened criminal? That was tough for me. I feel like
don't-
she's very wholesome.
I think again, part of the issue that I have with this movie is that I think it lives in the shadow of the Ocean's film, which is that she's playing kind of the Danny Ocean character. The first shot of the movie is pretty much the exact same shot of.
Question. Did you watch Oceans like 11, 12, and 13 just recently?
I have watched them recently,
Okay.
because they went off Netflix, and I do enjoy them, but I don't want to anoint them as like their cherished memories or anything like this. My hot take is I think Ocean's 12 is the best one. I
Is
think
that the Julie Roberts? Yeah.
that is the one with Julia. I think that is the,
Pregnant? Is she
and
pregnant?
the reason I like that one is that I think it has this sort of Cannonball
Roberts.
Run feel to it, where it feels like everyone involved is having fun. I also the main reason I think. The only reason I wanted to bring up the distinction between those two, the Ocean's films and this film is Steven Soderbergh, the director.
Sure. Okay.
And Steven Soderbergh is someone we've talked about on this podcast a lot. We did a review of Logan Lucky. We went through his kind of filmography in that conversation. And Steven Soderbergh is someone I respect incredibly as a filmmaker, and I think is someone who is very inventive and does things with the form as a filmmaker. So every time, even in a film like Oceans, which are his biggest franchise hits, which are his sort of his studio films, they're inventive, they're fun, they do weird and wacky things. Ocean 12 is like the strangest big budget blockbuster you'll ever see. It's
go
got the
back.
weirdest sensibilities. Like he starts shooting with DV cameras in the middle. He's got the biggest movie stars in the planet, and he shoots it like an independent feature. Like off the back, off his shoulder. It's got this sort of dynamism that I really like. And so contrast that with Ocean's 8, which is directed by Gary Ross, which is a filmmaker I kind of like.
He did Big? Didn't he?
He
Big?
wrote Big.
He wrote Big. Got it. Okay.
And I think the best film he's directed is a movie called Pleasantville. Did you guys see Pleasantville?
Pleasantville's great. Yeah.
Pleasantville's fantastic.
He also did Hunger Games.
He did direct Hunger Games. And
Which are
I love the Hunger Games.
He
He
only
did
directed
the first one, but the first one's great.
Oh, it's fantastic.
And here's an interesting connection is that he and Steven Soderbergh are really good friends, and he asked Steven Soderbergh to shoot B Unit on the Hunger Games. And so those two have
Fascinating.
known each other for a while.
I'm sorry, this is a tangent, but Hunger Games sticks with me as there's a certain bit of it that I literally think is some of the most masterful filmmaking I've ever seen, and it's so strange to say this about that film because it is good, but there's something that, and this might be kudos to the editor or maybe to the director, but the moment when they raise up in spoiler for Hunger Games, when they raise up into the battle arena for the first time and all the kids attack each other, I have never seen a film do violence and ride the razor's edge of what you show and what you don't so effectively to get the emotion of terror that you are trying to get across.
Because it's only PG-13.
Exactly.
Right?
And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wasn't even prepared for it because I'm like, it's PG-13. They're not going to show shit. And they don't show a lot of shit. But the way that they did the cuts on that scene made it one of the most visceral feeling violent moments without seeing a ton of violence. So kudos to the editor and Gary Ross if I imagine he had a hand in that as well. But that was something that whenever I hear of someone who is involved with the Hunger Games on that sort of side of the line, I'm always like, ooh, I'm going to probably like what they're doing. And it might not be fair, but that always clicks in my brain.
Just to bring it around to a weird thing and we'll move on. Hunger Games. Remember the old lady in the Hunger Games who like couldn't speak? She was a mute.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I haven't seen that.
That's Magda. Miranda's
I
maid.
remember that.
Isn't that
Yeah.
in Sex and the City? All right, I'm all done.
We've
I'm
full
done.
circled
Moving
and we're
along.
back.
Moving along. I'm all done.
This
I'm
has
all
been
done.
the only podcast about the Hunger Games and Miranda's what?
And Six
Maid.
and the City.
Maid.
Housekeeper.
There you go.
Housekeeper.
But
Yes.
also not a lot of violence in this movie. In
No.
Ocean's 8.
In Ocean's 8, no.
No.
Not a lot of stakes either, I would say. Like, it doesn't feel like a lot is at stake. Now, my issues here come down to...
The steaks look delicious at the Met Gala.
well, were they eating steak or was there...
There was a couple steaks. I'm sorry. That was a bad joke, not
Anne
worth the
Hathaway
interruption.
chows down on soup.
The first
She
two were
gets
great. The
on
third
soup.
kind of, it's like the Ocean series. Is that I didn't really feel like I was that interested in any of these characters beyond like, oh, they're in a heist. Like I wasn't going, I really need to know the reason why Debbie Ocean needs to pull this heist. I was like, okay, there's a guy involved. Kate Blanchett, who's a phenomenal actress, like one of the greatest, is just kind of in this movie. And I'm kind of like, she's just kind of there. I kind of felt that way about most of them. I think Anne Hathaway kind of has the most fun, because she gets to play like a version of herself that's kind of,
She plays the media perception of herself.
Yeah, and that's kind
it's
of
wonderful.
It's kind of fun.
And actually, in that scene where she kind of has that breakdown, where she has the necklace on and everything, I thought that was a really good meltdown and probably very true to her. And I got a little bit emotional. I mean, it doesn't take much to get me emotional, let's say that. But like when she has that meltdown, I was like, wow, like that's probably very realistic. And the stakes of going to the Met Gala are that high.
Yeah, I can see that. And like I also kind of enjoyed like the mechanics of seeing the Met Gala in action. Like I kind of
Yes.
liked that. But other than that, I didn't get a lot out of this movie other than it sort of happened.
There's no background on Minnie Kaling at all.
I mean, just that her mother is
She's
just
Indian and she likes
so
diamonds.
oppressive and like just like
Again, none of this is to say that the Ocean's films are masterful at doing this sort of
No.
thing. But
I
what
don't
I
re-
will say, there's a masterful filmmaker behind those movies that does some really interesting things. And there are some things in this movie that felt like nails on chalkboard for me.
no, that's
Like there are a couple of things in this movie, and they like. The editor of this movie is a phenomenal editor, a woman by the name of Juliette Welbing. She works with a French filmmaker, Jacques Audiard, all the time. And she knows how to put together a film. But the last scene of this movie on the train was like I was literally I had my hands in my head watching it, feeling like there's like when you're editing, I have this phrase called Johnny's first day, which is like when you're watching something you go, oh, that's Johnny's first day.
Okay.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And there's like a picture-in-picture effect that was used in the final scene where they're flipping pictures, and I was like, this really feels like Johnny's first day. And it's like, I know they can do better than this, and it was literally like nails on a chalkboard.
Well, and
for
what
me.
was that? A callback to like that MetroCard joke, like way at the beginning of the movie. Like I didn't feel like that was a super strong like tie it all together.
No, it just, and it felt, yeah. And so like, again, I don't hate the movie. I don't think it's a bad movie or anything like
No.
that, but I'm just not, I like, this is a difference I think between you and I as well, where
He's pointing at me. He's pointing at me. He's pointing
There's
at
two
me.
hands.
Audio
and
media.
Yeah, two hands.
There was
Audio
a
media.
two-hand point.
which is that I think as well, I like to come down on a movie and because I want to give a recommendation of whether you should spend your money.
Sure.
And this is not a movie I would say spend your money on.
Oh,
I would.
I would spend my money on this.
Can I sort of pick that at 1
Absolutely.
second? I want to say, do you think? There's actually two parts to this question, and I would answer yes to both of them. But I want to say, obviously, you're from a filmmaker's perspective, and from a solely like this is the review of the film. You're saying don't spend your money. Do you think that in our current climate, it is still a good idea to go see? And what it sounds like to me, you're saying is an okay movie. Do you think it's worth the time and the money to spend to vote with dollars in this particular case?
The issue that I have with that is that you're not talking about the movie. Then you're talking about the politics of going to the movie and
Sure.
the economics of going
But
to
we
the movie.
did say that the end result was, should you see the film or not? Now, maybe based on the actual film itself, you are saying, no, from a filmmaker's perspective, it is not worth your time and money. However, we live in a day and age, God damn you, 2018, where there's things that sort of might transcend that in movies and culture in general.
Right.
So that's, yeah.
And I would even be on board for that argument.
Right.
If the film if it innovated or did something fun and interesting that I hadn't seen before, even if I didn't think it worked.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can get on board for that argument. I don't think this film does any of that.
I like.
do.
Okay, well, you go for it because
No, it's literally just seeing women. Just
Right.
seeing women. I can't tell you how exciting it is to just see a bunch of women. And then
Did you see Girls Night?
I did not.
See,
Girls' Night.
so like Girls Night is a movie that I would
Oh, wait.
absolutely go see that.
Well, this girls' night is. I think I'm thinking girls' trip.
There's Girls' Trip and there's Rough
at the
Night.
same
There's
time.
Rough
And this is kind of what
Night.
pisses
No,
me
Rough
off.
Night was the Lana
That's
Lana
Lana
Glazer.
Glazer. I didn't see that.
Girls Night
Trip.
was the Jada Pinkett Smith.
I think girls' trip.
Is it
Girls'
Girls
Trip.
Trip?
Yeah.
not to be
I
confused
did
with
see that.
Night Trip.
Yeah.
Which don't see Night Trip.
I get pissed off when they release two movies with the exact same plot
Yeah.
at the same time.
The kind of the toys and ants.
I know there's a different plot, like one of them has murder and stuff, but like still,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But that's like that for me. That would be a film I would get behind and be like, yeah, I think this is interesting enough to go see.
Well, am I the only one with Movie Pass here?
I have movie
Right.
pass.
No,
Yeah,
I think
we
we all
all
have
have
movie
movie
pass.
pass.
So at this
Yeah.
point,
Although
I'm
I
seeing
didn't-
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I saw Paddington 2 just on accident, and I was moved.
I hear Paddington 2 is
It is
fantastic.
truly
Oh,
incredible.
everyone loves that.
Ride Movie Pass until it dies
I
a horrible,
certainly will.
Oh, you
flaming
have to,
death.
man.
But I guess the point is here is that, okay, people listening to us for the first time or people listening to us for an opinion on whether they should go see this movie.
Get high.
That's
You'll enjoy it.
that's the kind of thing I come down.
$17. You're gonna look at $17 in New York.
I don't know that I'd spend $17 on any movie at this point.
Really, I
Now,
wouldn't.
I'm so with Movie Pass. I am spoiled. I don't know.
But I
Here's the thing. We talked about it not doing anything new.
Yeah.
And Elyse, you sort of brought it back to, and you can debate what is actually new or whatever, but at least it's something that feels different with the fact that it is all women. Here's something that it did not reinvent any wheel, but it did a lot of, I like a lot of different wheels, and this had a bunch of them in it. And I'm a ride or die character bitch. And by that I mean I will follow a film much harder and longer if I enjoy the characters and I enjoy spending time with them and watching whatever exploits there are, even if their exploits are not fascinating or innovative.
Right.
And in this film, for instance, I'm gonna shit on it for a second too. None of them have arcs except for Helena Bonham Carter. She has a full, complete arc. Even in the Johnny's first day scene, you see the end of it. There's a bit of closure with her necklace on that. We're getting into spoilers now. Necklace on the window, and she gets a brick and mortar store and whatever. She was in financial ruin in the beginning of the film. She was nervous. She wasn't a criminal. She became a criminal, and now she's okay, and she's set up exactly where she wants to be as a
Do you
designer.
think all the characters had that arc?
They don't.
No.
None of them have changed. That's the weird part.
Right.
Only she has changed as a person. The rest of them, at the end of this film, they're just rich.
They just get
That's it.
They just
And
get a
it's
lot
like
of
there's no
change.
real reason that they need money. You know what I mean? Besides like everyone wanting money.
Sure, but what I'm saying is, anyway, and that we can.
Wouldn't you say Debbie, Sandra Bullock's character has kind of
Debbie is the exact same person when she left jail until the end of this movie. She is the
100%.
exact same.
So
But at
wouldn't
least she had
that
the
be kind of
revenge.
a suggestion of like somewhat of a lackluster film?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying this is a bad part of the thing.
Yeah.
But to counterbalance that, I as a viewer personally
And a character bitch.
and a character bitch, ride or die, is I'm able to get on board with a thing because even though that is true, they don't go through anything that changes a lot of them. The heist itself, I never feel like they're actually in any danger. There's
Low
a weird.
stakes. The stakes are so low.
There's a weird
So low.
third act bit with what's his head,
Rob Gordon? James Gordon.
which
James Gordon.
in anyone else, if that character
Rob
was
Gordon,
played
yeah.
by anyone
That's
else,
funny.
I'd be like, "Fuck you, movie." But for whatever reason, it works because it's him.
Yeah.
The accent.
I like having these characters interact with each other and talk with each other. I even if the conversation isn't leading to a grander thing, it all feels like people that I would want to hang out with.
But I think that's because I was impressed by the casting. I was like, yeah, I want to see Sarah Paulson and Rihanna talk to each other because that's fucking weird,
Yeah.
Like,
And
I think
that's
that was
fine.
out of
And
it.
It was
again-
all movie stars. It weren't just actors. And with a movie star comes a big people's preconceived notions about them, about their past career.
But even the ones who weren't. I mean, Rihanna and Aquafina,
Yep.
I hadn't seen in anything before. She cracked me up immediately.
You didn't see the hit film Battleship starring Rihanna? Wow.
But and it was just like Oceans, where it was like a bunch of
Movies.
celebrities,
Yeah.
movie stars.
Yeah.
And it's
that's what Ocean's
to
is
me-
known for, right?
To me,
Yeah.
that's the same. Again, it's not doing anything innovative, but it's doing something I like. And I would be personally, and again, this is just me, I would be a huge hypocrite with the type of fandoms that I am a part of if I said I need everything to be the most innovative every time for me to enjoy it. That's just not how I go. I can see. I mean, Marvel does a lot of innovative stuff, but a lot of redundant stuff to itself. And I am on board with all of it. I love the spectrum of it. I need to be in certain moods for it. If something is reductive or whatever that R word is,
Yeah.
I'm not in the mood for it, I'll be like, fuck, I've seen this before, and I won't watch it.
I guess, and I don't disagree with that. I guess though, the thing that I'm want to think about though is that what are you going to tell someone who's listening about whether they should see this movie?
Ladies,
I'm going to encourage people to see it.
But let me frame the question.
let's redo the exercise.
Let me reframe the question. Give me a really compelling reason why I should see this movie that has to do with the movie.
Like you're talking about the plot of the film?
The movie itself, just the first minute to the last minute. Give me a reason that I should see this movie because of what happened in this movie or something about this movie.
It's fun. It's lighthearted. It's great to see. I mean, I hate it becomes a trope of it's great to see women on screen, blah, blah, blah. I can't wait until there's so
a
many
norm.
that I can be like, no, this one's shitty. Go see the other female
'Cause I did
movie
not
if you
like-
want to see a bunch of women. I don't know. I mean, to me, I'm not so much a heist has to be super exciting for me to be into the heist. And no, there was not anything character wise that kept me super glued to anything, but I didn't want to miss any of it. I thought it was still fun and it kept me, I wasn't waiting for it to end. I know that's not a glowing review, but there's a lot of movies. I get very bored in a lot of movies that aren't love story, romantic comedy.
Telling a stranger to see this, if they've seen the other Oceans or not.
No, and that's the thing. I would say the question I'm asking is, tell me a compelling reason to see this movie on its own terms.
I just want to see. I want to see him pull it off. Like, I know the stakes were low, but like 2018 security, to see like the technology that we have today, how the fuck would you even like, I can't think that far. I
think there should have been more of that though. It's like what, like ducking under lasers? That's every movie, right?
That's every movie, but like their thought processes and like the timing and the things that had the dance that they had to do. There's a lot of choreography in this film that had to get done, and timing, and there was flow, and there was music, and like again, I know like the women and thing, but like it was nice to see good actors acting together, scene by scene. Each scene had a fun little thing about it and had a button, and then like almost every scene, and it moved on, and I love that. You don't see 1,000 women in one room not talking about one guy like it's The Bachelor in most things.
True.
It's like the Bechdel test.
The Bechdel test.
The what is it?
The Bechdel test.
That. Thank you. The few scenes, it passed, and that was so exciting. It wasn't just one, and there was only. And I also totally side note, but I liked the gentleman that they got for the heist within a heist.
Richard Armitage.
Yes, he is not completely like George Clooney status, which I appreciate.
He's a Gerard Butler,
because I don't trust people because they'd be like,
dude.
oh, they would have been like that, that heist movie with Brad Pitt. If it was an A-lister, that's what would have happened. I think we have a long way to go. I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be as far as cinema goes with females and stuff. And I thought this was a nice stepping stone that, like, I listened to Pop Culture Happy Hour starting to talk about this, and I kind of agree with what they said. Like, this, if you find it on TBS, you're going to stop and keep watching it.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that sort of goes to my entire point too, is that there's an interesting, and not to bring this to an extra creditsy level, but there's an interesting thing about the value. So in order to determine sort of gain or loss, you need to figure out the value of things. And for this particular exercise that we're doing, you need to figure out what the value of your time and how much money you will actually pay for it is to your own life.
Right.
And now, look, there are some films where I will literally be like, I don't give a shit how much money you make. You need to see this, and you need to see it in the theater. And there's other films that I will be like, stay away from this motherfucking thing like the goddamn plague. This is something where you actually do have to do the time and money value, basically like how long will it take you to earn the $17 you need to see this movie? And then figure that out along with the other values that you bring into it. And that will actually determine monetarily whether or not you should see this film, because it is a okay movie that at the moment I had a ton of fun with.
Okay.
But don't skip dinner. Maybe financially, don't not eat.
This is not a movie where you should skip a meal for, but you could give up a coffee and go see this film.
I would say that.
Or if it's new to HBO, that's the first fucking thing you do, and you clear your afternoon.
Yeah, or TBS, very funny.
Oh man.
It's a weird. It falls in that span of films for me.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, like I said, there's zero character change in most of the characters. On the other hand, I like small bits of it that there was a lot of sort of care taken to it. Wired did an amazing video. You should check it out. I don't know if they do it more, but this is the first one I've seen where they actually got tech people and actual hackers to review how the hacking worked in this movie, because hacking in films is normally garbage. And in this film, most everything kind of checks out. They took very little liberties, but it wasn't just like some fucking slapping the keyboards from Rihanna and then making things go. There are actual technologies that went into things about it, and it made it all make enough sense. So when there's small details like that combined with characters that I really like, played by people that I love, and throw Anne Hathaway in anything and I will watch it. It's just it really does, and that and Helena Bonham Carter too. She fucking
I listened to that.
It's something that like I can get on. All of the nits I can pick, I can outweigh, and still with clear eyes, full hearts, not losing, suggest going to see it unless you are in some sort of like you can only see one movie every 3 months.
Well, and I'll just say at 1 PM, the audience I was with was really enjoying it. Like, not to give away one of my favorite beats in the movie, but there's a part?
We're in spoilers. You can.
Spoilers? Okay, cool. So Anna Wintour, the back of her head is shown, where obviously you can tell, and they're not showing her face, and you're like, okay, everyone knows who this is going to be. And they do this kind of like pan around her face, and everyone's kind of like, and then they get to her face, and you're like, oh, it's really Anna Wintour. And every female in the theater was like, oh.
I had that
like,
experience
they
as well.
got her.
Oh,
and
and-
I was right along with them.
Anytime Rihanna stepped on stage, people lost it. Did people lose it for you?
I think
people
when she
just
got
start
into when she got into the red
dress,
dress,
yes.
people in my audience were like, "Oh, cool."
Like perfect example of how this film doesn't work but makes its not working work. Here we go. Not every woman in this heist, it would ever make sense to be dressed fancy for this thing. But by the end of it, we get a shot of every woman dressed fancy walking down the Met steps. And I wanted that.
I was torn over that.
Really?
I was like, I don't know. You can't not.
Yeah.
Is my feeling.
They were
You
having
can't
fun.
not.
Yeah.
And,
The person was
if
having
I
fun
was
at
in
that
that movie and some of them had evening dresses and I didn't, I'd be pissed.
And that to me says, all right, sorry. And then that to me says, sort of as my bottom line is, this is the movie in that moment tells you what the movie thinks is important for your enjoyment. It's not the overall heist itself. It is not obviously character development. It is cool women, cool conversations, cool situations.
I think it knows what it is. Kind of like Fast and the Furious. Like, we need to show a couple Maseratis right now. And people are going to be like, yeah, that's really fucking great.
And Tyrese needs to complain that he's not in charge. And then we get the whole thing.
And then everyone's like, yeah. And then we're like, oh my God, Rihanna in a dress. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think they kind of knew their audience.
Oh my God, The Rock slides a torpedo across the ice and hits another car. Yeah.
Yeah, it's this. I feel like it kind of knew what it was, but I think it was being safe. I also think it was trying to be safe, and that's where it got hurt.
Yeah, I think so for me, the only parts of this that I think are sort of interesting from a viewing point of view, and if you're interested in this sort of thing, then I would recommend it. Which is that I liked seeing the mechanics of trying to pull a heist off at the Met Gala, and that kind of reminds me of this sort of like Alfred Hitchcock To Catch a Thief, kind of like seeing glamorous people do like seedy things. There's something cathartic and pleasurable about that. I think that's one of the formal fundamental functions of the heist film, is to like allow us to see movie stars do subversive things, like pulling off the heist, like Heat, the Ocean's movies, that's what it is. So I think it functions on that level, and I think if your audience, my audience, seem to enjoy it. Outside of that, for me personally, I find very little to recommend here. It's one of those cases where I think everyone making it was having fun, but I didn't have a lot of fun watching it. You know what I mean? And I was like, and that thing about like it knows what it is. I didn't find the scenes compelling. I found there was a lot of storytelling in this film that seemed odd and not functional. Like, for example, Sarah Paulson's son, the entire narrative about that didn't really go anywhere enough to dwell on.
I don't even remember what that was.
Well, you mentioned the scene where she leaves her son and says, "I've got to go on this special job."
It was my quote.
Yes.
But it didn't really add up to anything. There's a scene and there was like little scenes like that. Like, for example, there's a scene where Cate Blanchett is in the middle of the heist and some people she's in a halal cart. People knock on the door and say, "Hey, you got to do this." I was
did like
okay,
that,
this has nothing to do with
that
anything.
That was funny to me to see Cate Blanchett as like a street meat dude.
Right.
I thought that was great.
And then the ending, in terms of like just the way the ending was put together, I like that because I work in that industry. It just doesn't land for me.
The ending, you mean like wrapping up everyone's storyline, or them on the train?
That scene on the train, I think, is like
what happens on the train again?
Nothing happens on the train. It's basically,
why are they on the train?
They're on a train, and then we see a bunch of flash forwards, like where their lives go from this moment.
Okay, yes.
It's the same as walking down the thing.
Okay, train was not necessary.
No, it's not that it's not necessary. It's executed so badly, in my opinion, that it's like that is on a like everything else. I think is like, fine. It's like it does what it does. It does it perfectly fine. That is done so poorly that I'm like that. And again, I am like one of the 1% of people that would care about that. You
did pull the industry card.
Yeah, it's most people wouldn't even notice that.
I didn't.
But like, but now looking at it, something else more interesting could have tied that all together. That's
Sure.
fair.
Or like make
That's
them go into the bank or some shit. Like,
Or like-
just tell us what you're
or
doing.
surprise us with the meeting. Don't have them all in a room again.
There's also like
a train car.
There's also like the Ocean's films have set up kind of a formula for the heist films, and this film just kind of follows it. You know, like there's nothing.
Because like the surprise, we stole more necklaces.
Yeah, they did a heist within a heist, which happens in every Ocean's movie. You know, like there's a second scheme that nobody knows about. You know, that's kind of functional. I think I enjoyed the night out with my wife.
There you go.
I enjoyed that. You know, like I enjoyed
But
that
maybe
we got
this
to
is
go.
just credit to your wife.
Yeah, because she has to put up with me first and foremost. Like, you don't know how hard that is. But I, you know, like I wish we went to a bit of movie. That's, you know, like that's my thing. You know, like I wish we'd gone to see a bit of movie. And like, for example, Steve McQueen's movie Widows, which is coming out, which is a female-driven heist movie, which is coming out later in the year.
exciting.
I'm like that, you know, like I'm doing everything I can not to get excited about that movie because it's fucking Steve McQueen making a heist movie. You know, that's like Steve McQueen. Can you imagine Steve McQueen directing Ocean's 8? Like what he would do with this genre, what he would do. Like that to me is profoundly exciting. And again, I like Gary Ross. I just think that this movie is like pretty paint by numbers and I can't get excited about it.
I like painting by numbers.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's extremely
But
fair to
sometimes,
say.
you know, painting by numbers and like color therapy is necessary. You just need an escape. It's just this is like I think this has a place in the universe. I think this has a very
TBS.
Very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah.
I think it could be HBO now.
Yeah.
I think it could be on HBO for a little bit as a new feature. I think it will go to TBS and it will make TBS a lot of ratings all the time. It's just one of those it did the job that I needed. I also think that like I'm in the studio and I'm seeing this picture of Ghostbusters that I'm staring across from. I am going to get a lot of flack for this maybe, but that was a terrible film.
Yeah.
You're not getting flack for that.
We all thought the same thing.
The women all did their best. They had great performances, but that film had no idea what it wanted to be, and it was all kinds of things, and it was very devastating.
It was poorly directed. It was poorly edited, and the
Also,
writing was not great.
No one asked for that. If as a woman, I would like the Ghostbusters with like men and women. Busted ghost, like you know, like let's bust together. I don't care, or let's just
Busted
make
makes you feel
Because
good.
Bustin does. Thank you, Shahir.
Bustin does feel good on both sides, all sides. But I maybe just like new stories. Yes, do we want new stories with all female driven characters? That's what we really want.
Yeah.
But big Hollywood, I think is too scared yet to start doing that.
This is actually the thing. It's like the cynical part of me goes, this is the exercise here is to try and prove to us that women driven stories can be successful. And I think that's a no-brainer. Like that
For you.
like that. No, that is such a no-brainer. And
But
it's
they
like
put it very safe within that.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, the part where they poison Anne Hathaway and she just like barfs, I'm like, make that a fun, like shit your pants scene. You know what I mean? Like
Like
I
in
get she
Bridesmaid?
had to, or like just take like a little bit of risks that's like, maybe there's some dude who's like, oh, female, blah, blah, blah. Like push him a little bit, you know? I don't know.
Or like get caught and have to like physically fight someone. I don't think anyone
I wouldn't have
physically
minded that.
fought anyone.
Yeah.
You should check out the Soderbergh. Again, I feel like it's a point of comparison because I think Soderbergh is such an exciting filmmaker. But his film with Gina Carano, the WW, she's a MMA fighter. Now I've gone blank. It's fantastic.
the main one.
Didn't he also just shoot Unsane?
Unsane, yeah.
On an iPhone?
Yeah, with Claire Foy, yeah.
Yeah, I need to see that.
I would
wanna
be.
see that.
That's
All
the
on
thing.
iPhone, the whole thing.
I would recommend. I mean, I haven't even seen Unsane, but I would recommend that film just knowing the pedigree behind it. You know what I mean?
Boy.
And what it's trying to do.
I would recommend if you need to be outside of the box. I don't need to be outside of the box right now with this. I just need to be in the box, in the theater, having a good afternoon and like laughing and seeing all these really big actors. And sometimes when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, it can be a terrible movie.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of cooks, and that's not the reason there were weaknesses in the
I
film.
respect that.
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the strengths that sort of bound it and saved it. I don't think this script holds up on its own.
It's okay.
I think it's a paper thin skeleton. I think the casting and how they've managed to get the interactions to actually happen is the glue that makes this film super entertaining for me.
Yes, agreed.
Again,
Same for me.
But things like that, if not combined with an epic story or a heist or what have you that is drawing me in, will not get me to talk about, will not let this stay in my consciousness long. And I feel like I'm doing pendulum swings here, but that's okay. I think films, I don't want every film I see to stick with me for the rest of my life. I want some to just be like, I remember having a good time with that movie and just calling it a day. And this movie did that. And I would suggest if people want to go have a good time and then call it a day, go.
It's like watching half of a season of Sex in the City. Like, man, my day fucking sucked. And then I watched like half of season 2. I'm all right now. I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. Hey,
Sex and the City's a little.
You know what's interesting though? We're all coming to a same conclusion, but we are
Still thinking
but the
We're like, meh.
no.
Meh.
Meh.
I think it's a perfectly meh movie.
Meh's a little harsh.
But like meh
more
and
than
an
meh.
up, like an upper.
meh.
Okay.
That's more of a.
Okay.
Also, I didn't ask for this either as a woman. I didn't need an all-female Ocean's 8. I don't know if you did, Melissa, but I would like just a female heist movie.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited for that. I'm just
Yeah.
excited that they were all together and it went well.
Try
That
set
is
it off.
thrilling just to me.
And I was struck by the confidence because I think a lot of times when we see like female driven stuff, it's not always the most like forefront. Like every single one of them is nailing it. And
Yeah.
like you said, the
something
choreography.
That's something my wife said, and I'm gonna because she and I were talking after the movie as well, and one of the things she pointed out, and I thought it was an interesting point. It's not something I would have immediately thought about, but it was interesting that she did. Where she was like, these are all older women, and they're all older women who are doing the Oceans type performances, which is like, the older George Clooney just being sexy because he's older. You know what I mean? Like, and she was like, I love seeing Sandra Bullock just rocking it.
Yeah.
She was like, I love seeing Cate Blanchett look like a rock star.
and they're fucking
Yeah.
freaks for looking like that. But I appreciate it.
the other side is these are extremely beautiful women.
Well, the Ocean's movie had extremely beautiful men.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just saying,
Right.
but like she was like, I just liked seeing beautiful women,
Totally.
older beautiful women
Totally.
being cool.
Here's a question.
Agreed. I do like that.
I can't take credit for that thought at all. by the way.
Oceans had one of the cameos was from one of the older guys in Oceans.
Yeah,
MASH?
Elliot
He was
Gould.
also in MASH,
Yeah,
too?
Elliot Gould.
It's went over my head clearly.
No,
There are 3 characters from the Ocean's films that appear in this film.
every woman in the 8 is incredibly attractive.
Yeah.
Where I'd say 75% of the men in the Ocean's films were incredibly attractive. I would say if you want to go one step further, you could go with 1 or 2 different casting choices to kind of play against.
I don't know. I think some people would go for Bernie Mac.
If I really wanted to,
I think some people would be down for Bernie
think
Mac.
about it for
Anyway,
just a
maybe.
second.
I'm literally picking the most
In the right
useless
suit?
nits.
I could
Anyway.
not name more than 2 or 3 of the Ocean's men. And if I
Literally,
really
there's
wanted
Brad
to
Pitt and there's
base
George Clooney. Don Cheadle's in it.
Yeah.
Bernie Mac now.
Matt Damon.
I didn't remember that.
Matt Damon's in it. Casey Affleck.
I didn't remember that.
Nick Nolte's son. Is it Nick Nolte's son or Scotty or Scott?
If it's
He's
not, it
legally
should
named
say
It's one of the
Nolte's
two.
son, yeah.
It's one of those two.
Clint Nolte's son.
Yeah,
But
Clint
then
Nolte.
also there's the crossover. There's the one guy that worked on all of George Clooney's things too.
Yeah, Yin.
Yeah.
Who came and did the same thing that he did in Ocean.
and
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
a
Lasers
little-
guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I was
could
like,
have
this
been
is
a
probably a
little.
reference I don't
That
get.
could have been a little more unique.
Yeah.
You're right. That could have been a little more
Look,
unique.
again, I think it's an okay movie. I'm just like, if we're gonna say, and this is my final
$17
thought.
or not.
I'll jump out of this at this point. But if we're gonna say, do I highly recommend this movie? No. Do I mildly recommend this movie? Probably not. If you like,
Mildly.
yeah, if
A
you
nice mild salsa recommendation. on my
how do you
part.
like your
because I
salsa?
like fashion
Mild.
movies. I like movies about fashion, and this is like I mildly.
I would have liked them to lean a little bit more
We're into the fashion. Yeah, I would have. I mean, I thought they did an okay job
Anne
with it.
Hathaway's dress was nothing to write home about.
No, that was one thing that really irked me. I was like,
But
And like
this
a
is the
bright
dress.
pink.
But
yeah.
she's a bad designer.
Also, don't you? That is A, yes,
That's
very true. B, you want a dress that will showcase the rocks and not distract from the rocks.
There is
don't
one sort of thematic element that I thought this movie could explore, and it's something that, again, I hate to say it, the Ocean's films did find some sort of thematic element to pull through. And I'm not going to say that's anything to do with being a male-driven film or a female-driven film. It's just that a better filmmaker at the helm there and a better script. But you know, the Ocean's films were like, okay, why do you need to do this heist? And Danny Ocean had this thing, which is like, I need to do this heist to prove to Tess, played by Julia Roberts, that the man she's with is only thinking about the money, whereas I don't care about the money. So I'm going to steal all his money and prove to her that he only cares about the money. That was like the thematic through line of that film.
What a
it's not a
man
great,
motive.
It's not a great one, but it's there.
Yeah.
I thought an interesting idea was something Sandra Bullock said in this film, which is she said, I want to look invisible at the Met Gala. I want to be behind the scenes. I want people not to notice me. And I thought that was an interesting idea that, you know, these women were coming through and attempting to be invisible, and that was their superpower. You know, that was the thing that allowed them to pull off this heist in plain sight. I think that if the film kind of like, and this is, you know, I hate doing this thing, which is like, you know, reviewing the film you want.
You don't hate that.
If the film kind of explored that idea and did something with that and like made it a thing where it was these invisible women who were able to pull off this heist, I think that would have been,
How do you make them invisible in your ideal movie?
I mean, it has to do with like stripping away their glamour.
Right,
you know, these are
dressing them
glamour
down.
Yeah, like making them the wait staff in the heist or something like that. Again, this is all hypothetical to like just an idea that I thought was an interesting thing that she said in the film that I wish the film.
And I wonder why they didn't go that route. Was it to just razzle dazzle? We want to see Sandra Bullock in the evening wear.
I just don't think the film has that much on its mind.
I think,
Okay.
well, again, I think it goes back
Why
to...
does she have an accent?
Yeah, I know. It goes back to two things. One,
Sandra Bullock has an accent?
Slightly.
Does she?
Yeah, she plays like a Swedish person.
Oh
at
no,
the
she plays
no.
a German.
Met Gala.
Yeah, but that's at the
Yeah.
Met Gala, right? That was like a
why?
That was like a thing.
She had a fake
A
identity.
German accent or whatever.
like-
But hold on. The I got lost. I'm sorry. Basically, we have already determined that the movie, I think, knows what it wants to do, and it wants to do the fun stuff, so it's going to get rid of the other stuff that it doesn't want to do. The point about the women being invisible, I actually really loved the handling of that line and the way that they never brought up that it was all women ever again. They used that as sort of the through line of this is why this will work. And then I think, without being too overt about it, because I think if they really went too overt with it, it would A, strip the fun away, and B, kind of strip the power away from the line. The only reason this does work is because no one, despite what they're wearing, is paying attention to them. Like the line is through it. Like it does actually happen that way. I think if they punched that home too much, it would feel real bad.
I love that it wasn't verbalized because it really takes away. It's kind of like when they use like a plus size model and they're like, here's our plus size fat model. And it's like, well, our body image, body positive. It's like, well, you're being insulting by bringing this much attention to it. You know what I mean?
So I don't know.
And it didn't do that, which I like.
It worked for me on that level. Again, I'm not trying to convince anybody or whatnot. I just I dug it for what it was. I think it knew what it was, and it was a fun movie that didn't care if its characters got anywhere. But by God, they're gonna have a good time on the trip.
Yeah. 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 That's all I got.
You guys have been podcasting for 3 hours.
Guys,
Like I get it.
Sorry. No, any questions?
From the audience, come on, call us.
So Sandra Bullock's character, which Sex and the City character would she be?
Samantha.
I
There was a
wanna
lot
say
of
Samantha,
Samanthas
but
out
like-
there. No, Miranda.
Miranda.
She's Miranda. Yeah, she's Miranda.
Yeah, I don't know if there would be. Is there a Samantha on this team? I said
No
that
one's
high-pitched voice.
really distracted by men, which is cool.
Yeah.
The only romantic venture is revenge.
Yeah.
As it should
Anne
be.
Hathaway did a great fucking job.
Yeah, I think she stole the show.
She stole the show. And I honestly, I feel kind of bad about it, but like I read an interview with her about her winning an Oscar after Les Mis, and she was like, when I was up there giving that speech, I did not mean any of those words. And she was like, she was having like an existential moment. She was like, I'm wearing this $50,000 gown and there are starving children like in third world countries. Like she went on and on and on. And she's like, the audience could tell I was not grateful or in that moment. And like, we dog on women. If women are in the spotlight for too long, somebody's going to find something about them or make something up about them and bring them back down and put them out so that they have to go take a lap. But like, if anyone's in the spotlight for too long, whatever. But she did take what some people have thought about her and turned it on it and used it and leaned into it and explored it, and it was so entertaining, and she had such range, and she did a good job. She was great. The one thing that Jamie, my roommate, she had seen the show as well, and she is a fashion and designs fashion.
She's been on the podcast. Check out the Phantom Thread episode.
Yay! But I thought is a good note. Like we just see her come into their clubhouse.
Yeah.
We just see Anne Hathaway show up at the clubhouse.
I don't have a lot of female friends.
Oh, what a great, oh my God. But you know those girls.
Yeah.
But you know those girls.
That don't have a lot of female friends.
That don't have a lot of female friends that are like, whoa. She might have been the Samantha, if anyone.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But to see her like threaten Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett's character, be like, I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Before like, oh, hey guys, here's our next member.
I wish they would have had that confrontation shown a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I would have wanted. I feel like it got a little too like, the audience will just go for it now.
Yeah.
It got a little lazy.
I was okay with the lazy.
You're okay with that?
I don't know.
I had fun. I had so much. It was fun to. I need to see more. I'm not going to say I'm an expert or anything.
What was the film, Sheer?
Set It Off. I really like Set It Off.
Set It Off is one.
It's got Queen Latifah and 4 women pulling off a heist. It's
Okay.
fun.
Okay.
Set It Off it's got a great soundtrack as well. I will. This is the other thing. I really miss David Holmes, who did the score for the first 3 Oceans movie. He's phenomenal, and this movie just had.
I couldn't tell a difference.
And they resisted putting any Rihanna music in it.
Yeah.
That kind of speaks to her character that she wasn't like, I'll do it, but you use my music. You know
Oh my God,
it was a bad
she
Rihanna.
did Will Smith like the whole thing.
Totally. Wild Wild West. Yeah.
Wild Wild West.
Men in Black.
Welcome to the ocean. Give me my umbrella under the ocean. I don't
yes,
know.
Wow.
Yes.
I
It's like
think
a
I'm gonna-
reggae tone in
I
the
should
back.
be.
Okay. Well, I think that cues the end of this podcast.
Yay.
we definitely
Go
killed
see
that.
it.
This has been the only podcast about the film Ocean's 8. Elyse, Melissa, thank you so much
Of course.
for coming on. I'm going to outro you separately, and then I'll do the last sort of pitch for the show. Elyse, when you are not selling me delicious rings of chicken,
Jeez, I'm more than that, everyone.
where can folks find you? She's in a White Castle commercial. It's fucking hilarious.
I'm also going to be on Comedy Central later on next year. Anyway, as an actor, not a comedian. Where can you find me? You can find me on Instagram at Elyse Brandau, or you can find, that's probably the one.
That's the
place.
one to do it?
I'm a visual person.
Is your last name Brando?
My last name's Brandau. It looks like Brandau. Sounds like I'm pronouncing it wrong, but it's pronounced Brando, like Marlon. He's my godfather.
Is he really?
No.
Shahir's eyes lit up.
I was like, whoa.
Melissa, when you're not teaching me the finer points of talking like this, where can folks find you?
I wrote and am doing a musical called Handmaid's Tale the Musical. So if you're in Brooklyn, that's
Hilarious.
around. Thanks. Yeah. And hopefully other places.
I'm reading the book right now, so
Oh,
I'm
are
like,
you?
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we'll chat about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
It's amazing. It's
Oh,
amazing.
thank you.
Oh, it's so good.
Thanks, babe.
So check that out. Also, these ladies are phenomenal on the podcast Speaking of Carrie. If you are at all, you know what's interesting? I would say, obviously, if you're into Sex in the City, check out that. If you're not into Sex in the City, check that out, because today we recorded 2 episodes, and I normally try to watch the episodes that we do so I can follow along at least. I did not have time to watch the episode today, and I was enthralled with the conversation so much that probably once I'm done cutting all of these things, I'm going to go watch the episode that you both talked about today.
Yeah.
Yay!
So it is a fantastic podcast, and please check it out. Shahir,
When I'm bringing the crowd down, when I'm
you're gonna
that
do
guy.
your own. I was gonna say when you're not trying to elevate the quality in which we judge cinema, where can folks find you?
You can find my wife being so depressed that she actually chose to go to a movie with me by going to my website and reading my sad blog. No, it's www.shahirdaud.com. That's SHAHIRDAUD.com with my life and works and all that other stuff. Matt, when you are recommending movies for people to see, which I don't think you're 100% convinced about, maybe you are, where could people find you?
You can find me incredibly solidified in all of my opinions I've
there
said
it is.
today. At mattagwkrol.com for my life and works. Also, Skeletor, the number 4, PREZ, or Emperor MSK on Twitter. Also, you can find me narrating and show running the hit YouTube series Extra Credits. We just released something called The Content Conundrum about why video game content is slowly slipping even though we're paying more money for it. Thanks, procedural generation. Anyway, Nerd Minute over. We will see
All
you.
of us just went blank.
I know everyone just. I watched it.
All three of
I
us.
watched it
Left
happen.
my
No,
body.
I take it back. I didn't watch it. I looked down while I said that because I knew no one would care. But I know you care, listeners. So tune in next week, and we'll be talking about some more films, and you will be listening to that. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.